There we are. Hey, everybody. Hey, Facebook. We are live again. Hello, hello. Good evening to everyone who has joined us tonight. Let me see who is with us. Hey, my mother-in-law is again. Third night in a row. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Lorna. Hello. Hi, Malik and Sulan. And hey, Ace. How are you? I see you, Ace. Thank you so much for your support. I'm so happy that you guys are here tonight. We have had an amazing 3-night series for Her Day Live. And I thank you so much for all of our viewers and all of the women and all of the men. We've had men supporting us. Thank you so much who have came on to listen to us. I hope you guys can hear me. How do I sound? Let me know. Do I sound good? Can you hear me? Good. Oh, there's Dr. Zarita. Dr. Zarita is watching. She was with us last night and she talked about a little bit of everything. She was phenomenal. If you missed Monday night or Tuesday night, you can go to our Facebook page, Her Day Conference, and you can rewatch the videos. Monday night, we invited Dr. Ijoma, and she came on and she talked about, you know, women who've lost their mothers through COVID. She shared her story. We talked about trauma. It was awesome. Yesterday, we had Dr. Zarita. She was phenomenal. She took us to church, y'all. She took us to church. She was amazing. Her story was so very encouraging. I've been receiving text messages and emails saying how encouraging this has been to women who lost their mothers and just people who've experienced loss in general. So, and that's our mission here at Her Day. I am your founder and president of Her Day. My name is Alexis. And tonight, I wanted to say thank you for joining us. Okay, without further, hey, Melinda, hi, Rose. I'm excited. I'm so happy you guys are here. Share this with someone, a woman you know who lost her mother. It's going to be great. Tonight, we have 2 guest speakers. We have Wanda Boyd. She's going to come on and she's going to talk about navigating through life without a mother, you know, accomplishments, marriage, children, things of that, those things that we thought about, you know, when our mother passed away, like, how will I make it through those times without them? So she's going to talk about that. And then we have a special surprise towards the end. Her name is Ashley Newkirk. She is going to talk about healing daughters. So without further ado, we are going to bring on Minister Wanda. Hi, Wanda.
Hi, Alexis.
How are you?
I feel good. How are you?
You look so pretty.
Thank you.
You look beautiful. You look beautiful. Thank you so much for making time for me tonight and all the ladies of Her Day.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I feel like a newscaster in the square. But go ahead.
You got some good news for us tonight? You got
Yes,
good news
I
for us?
do. Yes, I do.
Good. I know you do. I know you do. Again, tonight I'd like to mention that Wanda's her bio is on our Facebook page and it's very impressive, just like the others from Monday and Tuesday. She just received her degree in Christian counseling. Is that correct? Congratulations! Congratulations!
Yes,
And shout out to Dr. Zarita, who actually has
yes.
the school that you graduated from, correct? So I know you
Yes.
were in good hands.
That's
Yes.
Yes, word first, Christian counseling. Yes, School of Christian Counseling.
Yes, yes. So thank you for making time for us tonight. We're going to jump right into it because this hour seems to go by really fast.
Really,
Like really fast. So Wanda, let us start with, can you share your story with us?
absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Before I can you hear me clearly? Thumbs up.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I can now. Yes, you sound great. Yes.
Awesome. I want to first say thank you so much, Alexis, for allowing me to be a part of this platform. I never in a million years thought that I'd be up here sharing this kind of story with anybody, but God knew when I didn't know. So thank you so much. I had the privilege of gleaning from the past guests, Dr. Ijoma and Dr. Z. And I've been blessed both nights, and I pray that the Lord will do what He does, what He does best. And before I get started, I also want to share with you. There was a scripture that popped up today as I was thinking about tonight, and it's found in Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter. Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, the 4th chapter. That book was written by King Solomon, and I'm reading the New International Version. I'm going to read it because I hate to misquote it. So it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return on their labor. If either of them fall down, one can help the other pick the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Alexis, I thought about you with this scripture today as I prepared for this. And I want to just tell you, if I can just encourage you for a moment, that for some, her day has become a part of the village that we try to build for ourselves. And just your obedience has actually contributed to the healing of many. And what it hasn't done yet, it will do as long as you stay in it. So stay in it, because this is a part of the village that people have to build for themselves to get the healing that they seek when they've lost someone. And and having the help is what we need. So that's what you've done. And if someone is falling, they can look to her day to help build them up. So thank you for being your brother and sister's keeper. It's needed in this world, in our lives. So thank you for the platform. And now I'm going to share my story as you asked.
Yes.
As I share this,
you
if you can just keep in mind trauma. It was reviewed. It was shared with us, the meaning of trauma on both nights. And I'm just going to say it again. It's any negative or deeply distressing, disturbing event that has affected you, how you see yourself, how you see God, how you see the world, how you see people around you. So those are traumas. And sometimes traumas show up right away and sometimes they don't. So as I tell my story, just think about it, because I'm going to mention that a couple of times where there were different times throughout that time where trauma took place. I'm a twin. And my twin sister's name is Wendy. She and I were born on July 28th in 1969. So you can do the calculation there. After we were born, 9 days after we were born, my mother passed away. And so to give just a brief about that, my father told me, and of course there were many different stories that I heard over the years of how that happened, but because I wasn't there and I don't know, I can only go by what was told, because she's no longer here to share that. And what I was told, I'm going to believe this one just because I asked my father directly as I got older, and he told me that he was in the hospital and she delivered us, and after she delivered, they were laughing and talking in the room. He went home to get clothes for me to go home because my sister Wendy was going to stay in the hospital. She was in the incubator. She was a little smaller than me. I think she's still a little smaller than me, but she had to stay in the incubator. And so he went home to get clothes for us, for me to go home. When he came back, the room that my mother was in, she wasn't there. He went crazy thinking something had happened. And during that time, because there were a lot of racial issues going on, he thought that somebody did something to her. So he said he lost it. And then they finally brought him to the ICU. And after that, 9 days later, she passed away. So as I said, I'm going to mention the word trauma because that was traumatic. It was a traumatic experience.
Yes, Wanda, listen, I I I use trauma a lot too because it is, and I feel like I don't. Sometimes I'm hesitant, just like you, to use it often because I don't want people to become callous to it because it is trauma.
It is trauma, and
Yes,
my saying it often is more so for me to continue to identify some whys in my life. And as I identify the traumas that have happened over the years, it contributes to who you are as you continue to live this life. So it's just a reminder that these are things that actually happened. And even though it wasn't something that I made every conversation, it still didn't take away that it happened. So my mother passing away was traumatic. It was
right.
a trauma. It was traumatic for my father, who at the time, my mother was around 32. My father was 34. So my daughter right now is 31. And that's the only comparison that I usually use when I think about how much fell on my father at that point. With my sister and I, there were 7 children. Later on, it became 8 when my younger sister joined us. But he became the father of 7 children, a single father. That's trauma. He came, and
Yes.
it was 2 newborns. And, so he had 2 twins. I mean, he had twins. Then my siblings, they became parents before their time. Trauma. When you're looking to grow up, then all of a sudden you became a parent and you didn't expect to become a parent, but someone had to step in and fill in those gaps because then my father went on, I have to provide for my family. He was also trying
Right.
to keep a promise that he made to my mother, which was, she said, keep the kids together at all costs. And back then they would try to separate you because he's a man. There were girls in his family. They would try to separate and put in foster care, but he was trying to keep that. So now, as the man of the house, the single man of the home, he had to make sure he kept us together, provide a roof over our head. Who's going to take care of the kids? Back then, it was no counseling, so my siblings stepped up automatically. The oldest sibling at the time was my brother, and he was around 15 or 16. And my sister, who was the oldest girl, she was 2 years younger. So she was 13 or 14 years old. She became my mother. And she became a mother sister figure, not just to my sister and I, but to all of my siblings. So the thing about trauma is that with parents, if you could remember that whenever you have traumatic experiences in your life, your children experience that with you. So what happened with my mother went to my father, which went to the children. And so
Right.
you don't look at it as trauma at that time. You grow up just doing what you do. And that's what my siblings did. My sister stepped in, she became that mother figure. She raised us. And as we continued to grow, I didn't realize that I didn't have a mother until I got older. So the difference in the 2 previous guests, they knew, they built a relationship with their mother. They knew, and they had her with them. But with me, my mother, I didn't know that I didn't have a mother. And some of you may have experienced that in a family when you're calling somebody Aunt Susie or Uncle Jim, and you don't realize until you've gotten older that they're really not your uncle. You're like, that's not my uncle. I didn't know that. Because you're still learning the dynamics of your family as you get older. So as I got older, I didn't realize it until I realized it. And I realized it when I was in school. And that was when I got into my older grades, because what I needed was being filled in with my sister's care. And it wasn't until I
Right.
got in the older grades where I saw parents going to the school and mothers intervening with the kids, taking them to school or being at the PTA meetings and, getting you dressed, doing your hair. None of that took place. And then it wasn't until at that point, I realized that something was different. and still never
Right.
addressing it, but you just grow up knowing, okay, well, that part was missing, and we just grew up like that, and so with my with my siblings stepping in, and as I got older, I realized that now I'm in adulthood, living without a mother, it became the norm.
I think we're having some technical difficulties, right? So just
Okay.
on my end. So I don't know if
Okay.
it's me or but bear with us. Please don't disconnect because we're still here. But go ahead. It just has happened a few times in and out. But you know what? We're not going to act like it's not happening because if it's happening on my end, I hope it's not happening. I'm just looking at my producer. Can you guys hear? You guys good? Okay, so maybe it's me. All right, please continue. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to continue in that we lose sound and people can't hear you. Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No problem. Can you hear me?
I can.
You're
I
good?
can.
Okay.
Yes,
So
good.
now I'm
Thank
an
you.
adult and I'm continuing to grow up. And it's not like something I thought about missing because it was my norm since birth, not having a mom. So you continue in life like everything is what it is. And I was working at a job in Trenton, New Jersey. And God afforded me the opportunity to be connected with a Christian as my boss, who became one of my mentors in my life. And one day she was giving me instructions on something to do. And as we were walking down the hall, she stopped and said, "The Lord just told me to tell you that it's okay for you to grieve your mom. You've never grieved your mom." She used mourn. "You've never mourned your mom." And I looked at her like, where's that coming from? But I cried like a baby because I never expected her to say that. And around that time, I was saying to myself, I wonder if it's better for me to have never known my mother and she passed away than for me to know her and she passed away. So when she told me that, it automatically brought me back to that question. And I thought I didn't have the right to grieve someone that I did not know. I thought that that was for people that had a relationship and now that person's not here any longer. And so when she said that, I began to think about what that loss really looked like for me. And I began to identify the traumas in my life. And I realized that how she had never been there for one thing that I've done. She's never combed my hair. She never told me that this is what women, young girls do. She didn't have that talk with me when it was time to transition from a young girl to, now I'm a young lady. She didn't have that talk with me. And I began to mourn the losses, not the loss of what I could have had, as some have. I mourned having that time. I mourned what I didn't have. I mourned the fact that I never had those things with my mother. I mourned that I didn't never have a picture with her, and I can't ask her what's her favorite color, and I can't say, "Do I look like you?" or "What would you say to this event?" or ask a question. And so that's when my grieving started. And it doesn't mean that the trauma was not there all the time. But I believe at different times that the Lord, depending upon people and where you are, your maturity level at different times, I believe the Lord allows you to hold some things and not experience the or not confront it, because you have to be able to handle what you're confronted with. And had that been shown to me when I was younger, I don't know if I would have been able to receive it as that. I don't know if I would have even been able to identify other areas of my life that I mourned her passing. And so, by my boss saying that, I know that that was ordained by God. And I know that it was time for me to really take a look at that process and what it looked like for me. And I needed that. I needed it more than I even thought I did. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Thank you for that, Wanda. And it was my Wi-Fi, but I heard you. I was behind in the green room and I heard you, and that's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that. And that was so important. Even like you said, you didn't get to have that talk with your mother, the talk that I'm now having with my 16-year-old and things like that. Um, but you said that your siblings mothered you through some things. Same thing. I mentioned that on a podcast once that, we have to be open and allow people to mother us through those times. Even sometimes it's your peers. It can be your peers. Like you said, and your siblings, and there's some aunts and things like that will God will allow those people to show up for you. You have to be open and receptive to allow them. And I thank God for that, that you allowed that. And I do want to ask you regarding some coping mechanisms, because you said I didn't know that I didn't have a mom.
Mm-hmm.
When you did, like, what was the time in your life that it occurred to you, like, I don't have a mom? And then, like, what was some coping mechanisms, or what kind of got you through that moment?
Well, I don't know exactly what age or at what point I realized that I didn't have a mother. I just know it happened. And again, back then, growing up, you didn't have everything that's so clear right now. You can go to
Mhm.
counseling. Everything wasn't so readily accessible to you as the internet is, and
Yeah.
as this conference and that conference, and it was a lot of things weren't talked about then. So a lot of things that God did for me, or what happened throughout my life, I know that it was God. I know
Mhm.
that God has made. I think of this song. I never would have made it. I
Yes.
often think of that. I would have never ever made it without the help of the Father. So, one of the things that has helped me the most is having a
Mhm.
relationship with God. And
Mhm.
I also believe that
Mhm.
my relationship with God was not something that I came to on my own. It was introduced to me because my siblings, my sister and brother took us to church. And
Yeah.
because they went to church, they took me and my sister with them. And as a result, that opened up a door for me to develop a relationship with God, a God that I didn't even know about.
Mhm.
And that relationship has opened up other relationships. So my relationship with God introduced me to other relationships. And I speak of those as friends. Friends have come
Right.
along, and other older women have come along. In the church, I remember they used to have a parenting group in the church that I went to. And I went. I went there because I'm like, I don't know how to do some things. And
Mm.
and one of the coping, in order to cope with some things, you have to identify what you don't know. You have to identify the
Mm.
help that you need. And because it's hard for you to get any kind of resource or help if you don't know what you're helping. So
Right.
I
Right.
learned how to cope with the loss of my mother because God sent other people to fill in those gaps. God sent other conversations. There were so many different, when they had people come visit the church, I would sit listening like this, like, oh, I think
Learning.
for me.
Learning.
I think that's something I can take for this. Or, oh, I missed. Dr. Z was on yesterday. And
Mhm.
earlier I talked about building a village. And God allowed me to build a village that I didn't know anything about. I
Mm.
didn't know I was building a village when the village was actually being built. And Dr. Z was a part of that village. She loved youth ministry. She loved youth. And she allowed me to babysit her children, and the relationship started there. She started to invest in me as a young lady and say, don't talk like that, talk like this. Say this word, don't say that word.
Mm.
So learning how to deal with the loss of what I did not have, learning how to deal with what I didn't have allowed me, first I identified and I accepted it. And then I had to
Mm.
forgive the point that God had happened to me. And why did that happen to me? And you don't want to ask those questions, but sometimes you need to ask that just to get it out your system.
Right.
Why? Why
Be-
couldn't I have the
Mhm.
mother that was
Yes.
here, and that I was
Mhm.
able to experience life with, that I can go and ask questions to? And why didn't you do that? Why didn't you give that to me? And forgiving the answer that I never heard. And I
Right.
had to forgive it in order to move on. So in order for me to
Right.
cope with that loss, I had to function from a place of forgiveness too, after identifying that it is an actual loss and I don't have it. So now that I don't have it, what do you do? And how do you move here? So after identifying and accepting it, I had to forgive it and then be open to other opportunities to
Mm.
learn. And that's what God did for me by giving me people like Dr. Z. He gave me the church family. And there were a lot of influences in the church family that said, this is how you need to behave as a young lady, or this is what you do. And never minimizing what my siblings have done for me, because uh,
Right.
I'll never forget
It's stages,
sacrifice. And,
stages.
and they've been with me. My sister, at first it was my sister Ella, then it went to my sister Deborah, but they gave what they can give, realizing that
Right.
that was a traumatic experience for them as well. And it was the
Right.
oldest child being 15 and 16, and everybody else fell under. There's a lot of things that they didn't know. But they gave us the best that they had. And because of that, that was a part of my molding. And that was a part
Right.
of my coping, hearing different stories, asking questions, and, learning to continuously accept as I continued my journey.
Right. I think there's stages, just in life as growing up. That's why we have mothers in the church, right? You can never stop learning ever. There's a Bible scripture, and sit at the feet of the older women, and they'll teach you, your elders, right? That's why there's elders in the church.
Yep.
One of the things that I do, because I don't have a mom, right? Or since I lost my mom, and I was in my 30s when my mom passed away, is I love listening to older women. Like, I just to listen to whatever it is they have to say, whatever knowledge and wisdom that they have that I know I don't have, or that because my mom passed away at 52. So I feel capped from what she gave me at 33,
Mhm.
So I just listen to what they have to say. I spoke yesterday about, there's a mother in our church. She always buys me vitamins, and now she always gives me vitamin B, C, and D. Mother John. And look, and then here we go, and we have this coronavirus, this COVID outbreak, and she had already been giving me these vitamins in my system for months. So I've been able to fight this virus off. So there's mothers in the church for that. There's stages with that. As you know, now that you have children and you're a grandmother, you know more now as a grandmother than you did as a mother.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, yes. So let me ask you this, Wanda. Has losing your mother ever affected your relationship with God?
Well, it's funny to say that. Most people would say they're angry with God, because you took my mother. Why
Yes,
did you
they've
do
said
that?
that.
And a
Mhm.
lot of times they tend to go the opposite way. God can be here, but I'm going the other way because I'm angry with God. I'm angry that you took my mother. I'm angry that I never got a chance to do those things that I would love to do. I want to hear her voice, and I can't do that.
Right.
And I don't deserve that. I didn't ask for that. So a lot of times people tend to go in the opposite direction. For me, it pushed me toward God, because
Mm.
growing up, it was my siblings and I and my father. And then we started going to church. And so by the time I realized I didn't have a mother, we had already been in church. And I felt like if I didn't have God to help me, what would I have? And
Right.
even though I didn't understand all of who God was and what a difference he could make in my life, it was
Mhm.
something that made me say, I need this. I need to stay
Right.
here. And
Right.
by doing that,
Right.
it allowed me to build those relationships that I spoke of. It allowed me to attend conferences that spoke to how to be a young lady, that spoke
Yes.
to hurt of women, that spoke to losses. And being in the church allowed me to see what marriages look like. It allowed
Mhm.
me to see how you can raise your kids. There were so many things that I learned just by being in church. So it actually made me want to stay there, because
That's
I felt
good.
that
That's
without
good.
that, what else would I have? It became my covering.
Mm.
It became my go-to. It was comforting for me. So it did not ever shake my faith to the point that I didn't want him in my life. I needed him and I
Right.
wanted him. And as a result of it, I believe that's how my life has been able to still flourish in the midst of
Yes.
traumas. And God has made that difference. And because of that, I'm so grateful. And so I would even encourage those that are listening, yes, I know that it makes you angry. And I would say wherever you are emotionally dealing with the loss of anyone in your family, deal with that. Be in the present. Don't ignore it. Feel it, but don't stay there,
Mhm.
because there's still opportunity for you to take your experiences and the life that you shared with your mom, your dad, or whomever it is that you've lost, that life that you're mourning and the experiences that you have, those are good reminders that will strengthen you for your next platform, for your next level in life. And there is a next level. It's not the end. It feels like it's the end, but it's not the
Mhm.
end. And I can definitely be a testimony to that. It is not the end. And when my sister, who was taking care of us, she passed away in 2009, it felt like I
Mm.
lost my mother all over again, because she was that
Mm.
mother figure. So it felt like I lost mothers twice. So I had to
Mhm.
mourn that and really put that in a place, because it felt, I did have pictures with her. I had memories with her. I know what she talked like. I know what she liked and didn't like. And so it was very devastating, because it felt like it happened twice, and but even after that, there's still life. I cried,
Mhm.
and people said what they said. It took a minute. And I can't. There
Yep.
were many days that it was mentioned on one of the days previous that you still have a phone number. I believe you said you still had your sister's phone number, or your mom's phone number. I kept my sister's phone number forever. I would call her at work, because every morning I went to work, I called her. And so
Yep.
when that was no longer, I would call her job just to hear her voice on her answering machine. I did that for over a year, until I did it the last time and it wasn't there anymore. I was sad. It
Mhm.
felt like why did you take her voice off that message? So
My
so
sister and I did the same thing. When my mother passed away, we would wait like a couple days before the voicemail is to expire. We would send it to the other person, and we sent it back and forth for like a year, so we keep hearing our mother's voice, because just to hear her voice.
just to
So
hear
we
her
were like, oh my,
voice.
okay, wait, day three. Like we would have calendars in our phone, like our BlackBerry. Like, oh,
Uh-huh.
what? Oh, let me send it to you. This is mommy's voice.
Yes.
Back and forth.
It's so
Because
crazy.
we had it for like a year.
Yeah.
And like you said, when we lost it, oh my goodness,
Oh
when
my
we could
gosh.
no longer play that voicemail, it
Yeah.
was like she died all over again.
All over again.
It was like, I
Something
need
deep
this.
was taken.
Same thing.
And the funny
Yes,
thing is, that can be considered a trauma. Is that the
yes,
craziest thing? Because you're devastated at that moment. And sometimes you hold on to it. Who do I get mad at for taking that off? Until you come
right.
to the realization that that was a work phone. It wasn't a house phone, and you got to remember what you had, not just the message. So, and that's where God definitely comes into play all the time. Because when we would go off on the deep end, it's God the Father that brings us back to the center. He allows us to have a balance so that we don't completely lose it. And when we
Right.
can't get that on our own, because we've built a village around us, it's that village that when we fall, they pick us up and say, I was thinking about you today. I haven't heard from you today. I just want to know how you're doing. And having people around you, it matters. It matters.
Right.
So
It did.
you're not in this alone. We're not in this process alone, and that's exactly what it is. And when I think of a processes don't stand still. They're constantly moving. So you're not
Right.
at the same space all the time. But while you're there, acknowledge it, embrace it. And at one point or another, getting up from that point, not staying there, doesn't mean that you leave the realization of what got you there behind. But what it is saying is that even though I am dealing with this, I'm still going to press toward the mark so that I can
Yes.
experience the abundant life that God has designed for me. Tears and all, I'm going to keep walking. I'm going to keep my head up, because my loved one, whoever that is, would want me to keep moving forward. They'd want me to experience life, because love wants you to succeed. So the relationship
Yes.
that you had with them is a love relationship that will never end. But think about, what would they want from my life? Would they want me to just give up? No, not at all. They'd
No.
want you to keep pressing
No.
and keep moving, because there is more. There's more.
Yeah.
So
There is more.
there's more.
But And one of the difficult parts about it, just like Dr. Zarita said yesterday, it's a fight. And you do play a role in that moving of forward. You on the days that you don't want to, you do. It's a fight. You play a major role in the desire. The faith without works. You play a role, even if it's a small role each day. You know, I'm happy that you talked about community, Wanda. Like I asked Dr. Ijoma on Monday, there are some women on here who hasn't lost their mothers, because I can see the names, right? Like my friend Teresa Hicks is on here, and my mother-in-law is on here. Thank God these women still have these women, the women that I'm talking about. Nana, my Nana-in-law, I guess. And Nanny Tanny is what I call Teresa's mom. They're so awesome. Them too, when they're talking, I'm like this. You know, you're just listening. So for those women how do they comfort the woman who has lost their mother? We talked about that on Monday. To the women who just recently lost their mothers during COVID, to maybe the woman who maybe lost her mother 10 years ago. And what do you say to them? How do you support them? I think I probably gave you too much. Let's start with the woman who most recently lost their mother, as a friend who hasn't lost their mother, or a loved one, or as a cousin, or just a family member, someone close to them. How do you comfort them if you can't relate, right? Because you still have your mother, or maybe you've never lost someone in your life, but you care about this person. How do you show up for them and become community to them?
And that's just it. Just like you said, you show up. You show up. We don't always have to have the same experiences to be able to handle an experience. We don't always have to go through the same thing to be able to give a comforting word. And I was told, and I'm still told today as an adult, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it. So sometimes when you don't know what to say, just your very presence is saying something. So we can talk by not saying a word. So just to know that you're in the presence, to let them know you don't have to have lost anybody, but you do know what it feels like to be comforted. And when I think of being comforted, I think of a comforter on a bed. You think about when you're cold, you grab something that's going to make you feel better. And so you grab a big blanket and you ball up in that because you wanted to hit that right niche, like, ooh, and be like, that's the same thing that you can offer your friend. Even though you have not experienced a close death as a mother or a father, you be the comforter that brings your friend that, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you came. And you may not say, oh, here's your comforter or here's your blanket. But what you can say is, you know what? I just brought you your favorite drink. I know you like water. So I brought you a gallon of water. So you don't have to worry about that. I know you like to eat. So what I did was ordered you some meals for the next few days. Or I got, so there are different ways. And just in case that's me, I just want to let you know that my favorite place is PF Chang's. So if you need to order anything, but I'm just saying.
Yes. Where you?
So, but you can comfort. You can comfort, and you don't have to have that experience. You know what else helps me to remember this? TD Jakes, because he had a whole series, Woman Thou Art Loose. And it still makes the difference in the lives of many women, but he's not a woman. But yet God has used him to change the lives of many women without him being a woman. He doesn't go through what we go through, but God still used him to make the difference in many of our lives. And that's how God can use you, although you have not had the same experiences. God can still give you a word. Sometimes you just need one. It can be hello. It can be just thinking of you, love you, whatever.
And sometimes
you got it.
Sometimes there are no right words, just like you said in the beginning. Sometimes there are no right words, because this does suck. It is sad. I know you're hurting. Validation, just that's validating. Whatever they're saying, I'm so sad. This is sad. This is sad.
Absolutely.
This hurts. It does hurt. I'm upset for you. Things of that nature. What about the women who lost their mother years ago? And people are telling them, "Oh, you're not over this," because there's this great expectancy that, well, it's been X amount of time, And so you're this friend and you're watching and you're thinking like, oh, you're still, but your mom passed away so long ago. I've heard some friends say some things, and I'm like, well, maybe we don't say that,
Mhm.
because everybody has their own grieving process. I know we've talked about that already this week. But so what are some things you can do, even if they passed away long ago and if Mother's Day is approaching, or their mother's birthday, or even their birthday? Because our birthdays are different without our mother. My mother used to call me every morning on my birthday, be like, I was in labor with you, but I used to be asleep like, I know my, like I would just recite the story with her. You was in labor with me for 8 hours, and then when I came out, and I didn't get that. My first birthday was like tough for me because I didn't get that call. So for women who lost their mothers a while ago, years ago, that are still not over it, we have someone in the comments. We have two women in the comments. Melinda and Ace are saying, nope, not over it. And here you are, you're their friend, and you want to comfort them. What do you say? Or what
What
would
I,
you like to hear? Or
well, I
what would
mean,
help you?
and the funny thing is, again, you may have some people that tell me, that would say to me, you don't have a right to grieve because you never knew your mom, in which isn't appropriate. But, it's if one, if we, the ones that are grieving, could find a minute, it might be a small second that you could just have an outer body experience and just say, okay, that person doesn't understand, and I forgive them for the crazy comments that people make. Immediately forgive them, because you don't want to hold it. Because a lot of times people speak from not knowing, their ignorance. They're trying to comfort,
Yeah,
but they're actually being offensive. Um,
right.
but for those that they're grieving, has no limit. There is
Mm,
no end time to that. If it is your feelings, it is how you feel. It's 9 times out of 10, we would be grieving someone shorter than how long we've had them. So, and then, okay, let me take that back. And I say that just thinking about, there are many times that people think that I've been grieved. Like I was speaking to someone yesterday, and she said, I can't wait for this to come on because um, it's been a year already and I should stop crying. No, she said it's been almost 2 years and I should stop crying, but I can be fine. And then all of a sudden it just happens. Well, she's grieving
mm,
the loss of her son who was in his 50s. And
mm.
2 years of tears cannot make up for 50 something years of relationship. So it
That's
has
good.
no limit. It has no deadline that by December 31st, 2020, you should be all done. Okay. And if you wait, and I need you to be
Right.
done with this at 3 o'clock. No,
Like an expiration date.
no. It's like yes,
Yeah.
don't allow people to put restrictions on you. Don't allow people to make up rules for you. Every one of us are different. And if today I'm happy go lucky, but tomorrow I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere because this is overwhelming for me, then if that is where I'm feeling, that's where I am, that's where I am. But the difference in that is, again, sometimes people don't know what you need until you reach out to them, which is going to take some effort on your part. So maybe you don't feel like having a long conversation with anybody. Send a text and say, can you pray for me today? Or just say, I'm having a hard day, not an easy day today, or keep me in your thoughts. Or you can send one of those little
Right.
emojis with a sad face. And that, if you're sending it to people that you've already been in relationship with, they'll understand that something's not right. And they'll start praying for you. It's okay to grieve. It's okay for you to do that for
It
as
is.
long as you need to. If you're gonna cry today, cry. If you're gonna, if you want to be by yourself, be by yourself. However, when we stay in those places too long, that's when it goes into something else. It can go into mental, emotional concerns. You can go into a place of depression, and you don't want it to slip into that. So we have to be our own monitors. We have to monitor ourselves. Okay, I've been doing this. I've been in this house for this long, and I know I'm having a hard time. And part of that will come as long as you're able to deal with yourself. As long as you know yourself, you have to be able to know you, that, okay, look,
Yeah.
Wanda, that you've been doing this too long. You need to reach out to somebody. You need to call someone. So, and it's okay to say that you need help, and
Right.
it's okay to need help, but reach out.
Yep.
But
Because
don't
we've
give
all
yourself
needed
deadlines.
help. We've all
Absolutely.
needed help at some time. And
All needed help.
Wanda, sometimes the person that's in the dark place is possibly slipping into depression. They may not be aware because they may be in a place where this is all they can do is feel or just exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was at a place where I was just existing. I'm just here and that's it, right? Your tribe, your community, these people around you, the people that live with you, your best friends, your friends, your girlfriends, right? Um, Watch out for warning signs. When this person either is unaware of warning signs or they may want to die. They may be wanting to head. I mean, and that's just the truth. And that may scare some people, but that's true. Grief will take you to a place where you don't want to be here anymore, make you feel like I can't live without this person. I know that's right because I've felt it. I know it's right because my friends have said it to me. In different loved ones. I don't want to be here anymore because I can't. What is life without this person? I am not going to make it. This is going to hurt. So when maybe you're not at a place where you can reach out for help or you don't realize it's help because you're just going to the dark place because you're like, I don't even want to do this anymore. It's too hard to fight. Your community needs to pay attention to that. So Wanda, let's talk about some warning signs. I know some warning signs if this person is not getting out of bed, if they're not showering, brushing their teeth, daily routines that they normally would do, not a day or two, but 3 or 4 days. I've had a friend that was dealing with something during COVID. Their loved one was on a ventilator for about 2 weeks. And every time I would FaceTime her, she had the same shirt on and she looked the same. And I knew that it was time to kind of show up. So you have to pay attention to your friends, your community. Pay attention to her. I'm talking to the community now.
So
Things that are different about her, show up for her. If she starts to give things away, listen to her tone. If she starts to say, even I don't want to be here anymore, that is a sign. If she's not eating, things like that. Go ahead, Wanda.
I
I'm
was,
sorry.
and one of the things about friendships, just to remind, we take friendships. Some people take it very lightly, but being a friend to someone, it's a self-sacrificing position to have. You sacrifice who you are to build a relationship with your friend, and sometimes you're giving at times that you didn't expect to give because the other person needs you. But because you've made a commitment to being their friend, his or her friend, be that. um, John 15 and 13, it says, no greater love than this,
Yeah.
than to lay down your life for a friend. And in doing that, there is no greater love than that. And to take time to listen to your friend, to take time to be the shoulder that they cry on or the ear that they repeat their story, the same thing that you might be tired of hearing over and over again. It takes time and it takes sacrifice because it takes time away from your life. But when you show yourself as a friend, you're going to get that back in one way or
Yes,
another. You cannot
absolutely.
sow that kind of time into someone and not be blessed because of it. Because when you're doing that, you're actually being a reflection of who God is. And as you reflect the Father and you're making him look good, he's going to take care of the things that concern you. So
He will
as a
pour
friend,
into
be that
you. He'll
shoulder.
pour into
Ask
you.
some questions. How are you doing today? Let that person talk about their moms. And sometimes they want to talk about the person they've loved, but they don't know if the other person can handle it. Like, I don't want to make that person feel awkward. So maybe as a friend, you be the person that introduce that if it looks like that's a day that you can. You can say, oh, how would your mom like this? Or I remember your mom or your dad did this. So as a friend, it's a commitment, but your commitment will yield a wonderful return if you continue to do what you're doing. And you may be that friend that has to say, you know what, I noticed that I haven't heard from you in a few days. I'm coming over. And you come over, you know what? I think that you need, let's see if we can get some help, and I'm going to go with you. I thought about this counselor, or I thought about this therapist. I can make the appointment and we can go together. So, and you don't want to do it right away, because sometimes, depending on the person, it could feel like I'm telling you and you want to push me off on someone else. So you may not be able to do that right away, but the more that you're in relation, you're talking about it and dealing with that friend through this process, there will be a time that you can present therapy to them. And at that time,
So
be
timing,
prepared. The bishop, my
timing.
bishop always says
Yeah.
preparation is the key to life. So what you can do as a friend, be prepared. Have the name of a therapist or the name of a support group in your purse, on your phone, so that when that opening presents itself, you can say, I got a name right here. And you
Yes.
can call at that moment. So time is not wasted. And your friend will eventually know that I have the support I need. God loves me. And you continuously
Yes.
reinforce that with your friend, that the Lord loves you and I'm here to love on you. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And prayerfully the Lord make that turn that around.
That's good. Thank you, Wanda. Timing is everything.
Timing is
And I
everything.
wish we had more of it, but we're running out. But that
Can I
was
say
good.
one thing?
That was good. Yes, of
Before we
course.
hit that, I
Please.
just like to, I
Yes.
know that whenever we leave here, sometimes we can't remember everything that we've heard. But if you could
Yes.
just jot down these resources, it might be helpful to you in the future when you're dealing with
Okay.
different times, when you need some support and you don't know where to go to. So there's a book that I like, and it's called You Can Begin It. You can Begin Again by Joyce Meyer. And that book, it speaks about beginning again in every area. So even facing losses where you may have been out of the picture for a moment as you dealt with that process and grieving, and you've taken time to mourn, and now you want to get back in the groove of things and you don't know how to do it. It helps you to get started again. You can start again. So that's a good book to get. And then also NAMI.org. That is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, is one of the leading mental illnesses organizations in the world. And you can go on that website and it can give you the name of therapists and different support groups in your area that can help you. And another one is psychology.com. You can go there for the same, and you can find therapists in your area that would be able to assist you. And if you don't have the funds or the time, you can use YouTube. I like YouTube. And you can go to YouTube and you can put in some concerns that you have. There's TED Talks on there. There's sermons that you can listen to and be encouraged by the word of God. Just put in what concerns you in the search, and then you'll get some resources that's able to help you. God bless you all.
Thank you so much for those resources, Wanda. And if you could come back in another time, or as when we're bringing up Ashley, and type those into the feed so everyone remembers those resources. Thank you so much. That would mean a lot. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I love you. You were awesome. We love you, Wanda. Thank you. My producer is like, switch. You have someone else coming up. Okay. Wanda was great. I'm so sorry if we feel a little rushed tonight. We have someone else that I'd like to introduce. Her name is Ashley Newkirk, and she started a blog for girls or women who lost their mothers. It's called Healing Daughters, and we're going to bring her up now. And there she is. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
With your beautiful earrings and your popping lips. Hi, Ashley. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. So Ashley, I wanted to bring you on so that you can tell a little bit about your story, and then tell us about Healing Daughters, how it started, what it is, and please share with us. I know that it will be a benefit, because tonight is our last night, and we want to leave the women with as many resources as we can. This 3-day series, we tried to give them as much as we could, but I wanted to bring you in last because you're a resource that will continue after our series ends. So please share a little bit about Healing Daughters and your story.
Well, thank you for having me, Alexis. I really appreciate this opportunity. So about almost 3 years ago, I lost my mom at the age of 28. She was going in for like a very small procedure, and she went into cardiac arrest. And at the time, I was actually at church. It was supposed to be a very small procedure, and I just decided to just go to church that morning. And I just remember receiving a text from my dad, and he said, answer your phone. And I just knew right then something went wrong. I remember just running out the church and calling. He telling me, it's not good. It looks like, they're working on her right now. And I just remember getting in my car, and I live in New York and my church is in New Jersey. And I just remember getting in my car, and I don't even remember making it to the hospital. I finally got to the hospital, and I actually saw my cousin, and from the look on her face, I just knew that my mom had passed away. And I just remember passing out. And the next thing I know, I was in the ER in the bed, and family members were surrounding me. And in that moment, I just remember just looking up in the light, and I just heard God's voice just say, just trust me. And I didn't know what that trust looked like. I didn't know what it felt like, but I just heard that voice. And probably a week and a half after her funeral, I began to research therapists. I knew that I had to find a therapist to enter into grief counseling. And I was able to find someone so wonderful. And she just helped me through the whole process of just every emotion, every feeling that I was going through. Because in that moment, I never felt the pain that I was feeling at that moment. And just going to her, it helped so much. I always say she's one of the people that helped save me, because just like everybody else who probably have dealt with the loss of a parent, you feel like the world has ended. You feel like you even want to probably take your own life. But in that moment, because of going to her and speaking with her, I was able to just have somebody listen to every feeling that I was feeling, and just helping me to get out my emotions and not holding it inside. And actually, she was the one who told me, like, God is about to use you and tell your story. This story is just not for you, it's for someone else. And I didn't know what she was talking about at that time. I'm like, yeah, right. And I just remember every Sunday driving from New Jersey to New York. It's about an almost 2-hour drive. And I would just record myself on my phone and just talking to myself, how I was feeling, how I was getting through the holidays, how I was getting through my mom's birthday. Just feeling like, okay, I had regrets and guilt as well. And I record myself, and I have all these recordings, and I'm like, okay, God, what am I supposed to do with this? And probably almost a year after my mom passed, that's when I heard Healing Daughters come. I heard the Holy Spirit say, okay, Healing Daughters. And I started to just write. And it was just like, okay, this is what you wanted me to do. And it's so crazy because every blog I had a story for every blog, because I recorded everything. And I didn't even have to overthink. I just had to go back to these recordings and just listen to myself. Even the recordings where I would just cry, I just had to listen to myself. And so I just started Healing Doors with that. I just started writing, and I just knew that someone just needed to hear how I was feeling, what I was going through. And that's how it first.
Ashley, you said something that you said you fainted, right? When you heard. I thought fainting was fake. Every time I saw it on television, fainting, I thought it was very dramatic and fake, until I got the call at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was home by myself, and my brother called me, and I answered the phone, and he was like, "Mommy's dead." And I was like, "What?" Right. I was like, and I didn't even, the phone was in the kitchen, and I was on the way to the bathroom, and I had all these missed calls, and I didn't realize, and I just said, "Oh, the phone," and I picked it up. I was on the way to the bathroom. I was like, "Hello?" And I was like, "What?" And he said it again. He said, "And I'm on my way to come and pick you up. Mommy's dead." And I remember, the next thing I remember after that was being on the floor and just coming to, I guess, on the floor and the phone, and trying to find the phone, and the phone is ringing, and I'm like, "Hello?" And it's someone saying, "I heard everything that's going on. I'm so sorry about your mother." And my point is, I thought fainting was fake. And then the day of her funeral, I get all ready. I get all myself all together, and I'm like, yeah, here I am in denial. "Oh yeah, come on, my friends are with me. Lex, are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on, I'm good today. I'm strong." I was taking Valium that morning, and I walked in the door. Soon as I just opened the door and walked into the funeral home, and fainted. And there were people there that caught me. So just me, I'm able to relate that you said you fainted. It's like everything, it's like your body can't even believe it. The chemicals in your body, like your structure, your skeleton, like all of these things, that the shock of it.
Right.
Like you don't even have control of that. And I collapsed. So I thought fainting was fake. It is absolutely real. It's the devastation of losing a mother is more than mental, more than physical. It's everything. It's your whole being. So I can relate to that. I wanted to say that to you. So thank you so much for creating Healing Daughters. Can you tell us, like, what do you do on Healing Daughters? I see that it's Instagram and it's Facebook and you have a website. What can we expect from Healing Daughters?
So yeah, I have a website, www.healingdaughters.org. And I put out a blog probably almost every other week, or probably like maybe twice a month. And I stay connected with my readers on Instagram and Facebook. As you can see, it's posted right now. But yeah, that's how I, stay connected with the people that read the blogs. I put out a blog, like I said, almost every other week. So yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Ashley. Thank you for joining me on tonight. We are officially at our time. Thank you for agreeing to come and share with us. You look beautiful as always. Thank you for Healing Daughters. Thank you for being obedient and bringing Healing Daughters to the earth. More people need it than you think. We're definitely, everybody go follow Ashley on all of her platforms so that you can stay encouraged. Thank you, Ashley. I'd like to do some shout outs before we close our series. I'd like to say thank you, everyone who tuned in every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even if you could only make one night, even if you came in for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, if you shared, if you liked our post, if you did hearts, whatever you've done, Tahira, Angel, Melinda, thank you. Thank you for logging on. Thank you for your support. My husband, my daughter, I know you guys are watching. Hi, my family and friends. Thank you for believing in Her Day. It's not easy to carry, but I know that it's necessary. I know that the healing of women who hurt or people who grieve, just people, because I know it's men too. I have to stop saying women because today I was thinking, should we do one of these for men? I'm just going to say people for right now. Thank you for your support. It is in my heart that we get healed from grief so that we can live life abundantly because we're supposed to, and it's ours to have. So I wanted to shout you guys out. I also want to shout out my Her Day board, my Melinda Audiger, my Jeanette Ponce Brown, my Tamika Gordine. I love you. That's the Her Day board. I'd like to shout out to Miller Design, who helped me with staging in such a beautiful way. And please look them up because if you're doing a live right now, they can help you and your background look great because they do staging and they're amazing. Shout out to my producer, Kanisha, who helped make all this possible because there's no way I could have done all of this. And who wants to hear me talk for 3 days, right? So thank you to my speakers. Thank you to Dr. Ijoma. I love you. You're amazing. Dr. Zarita, I'm trying to get you to move back to New Jersey just so I can have you all to myself. Thank you so much, Minister Wanda. I love you and your whole family. Thank you to DeAndre for all of his support on the back end. He's been praying for us. And thank you so much from Ashley and Healing Daughters. I hope I covered everybody. My tribe, you know who you are. Thank you to all of the new people who's just learning about Her Day. I love you. And I hope that you were blessed by this and that somehow received healing and somehow you're able to move forward, even if it's a baby step. Even if it's a baby step, it's a step. So thank you for joining me. Bye. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm back. So my producer brought me back to say because there's a donate button. Wait. Okay, there it is. It's right there. Oh, it's right there. Oh, there it is. There it is. So we have a donate button on the screen. Her Day is a nonprofit organization. We are 501c3. So if you donate to us, it's a tax write-off. If you'd like to donate, feel free. That's our Cash App right there. And that's all I came back to say. Okay, this time for real. Good night. Go to sleep. Get some rest. Bye.